Welcome to the Investor Financing Podcast, where we interview real estate investors and lenders so you can learn all the secrets to getting your projects funded and scale your portfolio. Learn about fix and flip loans, BRRRR financing, rental, fix to rent, commercial, multifamily bridge loans, business loans, and so much more. And now, your host, Beau Eckstein.
Hey guys, this is another episode of Survive and Thrive. I think this is I lost track of time, but it's been since, what is it, week 7, 8?
Seven or eight.
7 or 8, and every week we've had phenomenal conversations, and tonight's going to be another amazing conversation, because if you've been listening to what everybody's been talking about the last couple weeks, there's a couple ways to market direct to sellers, right? It's either you're going to pick up the phone, or you're going to text, or you're going to send direct mail. Okay. And people, the majority are either doing, I would say the majority of our contacts are doing, it's probably a 50-50 split between all the people we've talked to about direct mail and calling. I personally love direct mail, and I'm excited for tonight, because I've had good success with my direct mail, and now that I have Ty interested in buying in the Midwest with me, and he can handle acquisition and disposition, then I think we've got a team. And Ty had me on a conference call today at noon, and it was awesome today. He has some amazing connections, and he knows Todd, obviously, but I'm really excited. We're going to keep these going. I know they're starting to loosen up a little bit, and people are going to go out of the house soon, but we plan on doing these Thursday nights and keeping them going. We love your feedback. We want you to share these with colleagues. It's important to share so we can get a bigger reach. We want to help as many people as we can. We want to, as Ty says, squat up, and that's kind of the intention of why we set out to do this. So it's really important to share this, and also in our Facebook group, guys. We're like 30 people under 10,000 members. So go into that Facebook group and invite colleagues, okay? Because I want to make this the biggest Facebook group out there, which the big ones are about 100,000 people. So we got a long ways to go, but I know with the value Ty's bringing in with these live streams and the connections he has, we're really poised to bring in a lot of additional speakers, because speakers want to come when there's an audience. So we want you to engage. We want you to ask questions, and I'm going to let Ty kind of run from here. So Ty, without further ado.
Right on. Cool. I love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Thank you guys for watching. And I want to just say I'm really excited for today. We have my friend Todd Swaggerty in the house on the live stream. What I want to share, it was interesting. I went to an event. We don't have to say whose event it was, Todd, but sure. Todd and I spent a lot of money to be in that room, and it was a very, very small group. This was a long time ago. This was probably 8 years ago, Todd?
2013, somewhere around there. Yeah.
2013, and we spent, I forget what it was. I want to say it was a $10,000 event. Is that?
Yep.
Higher?
That was it.
Yeah.
No, that was it. Yeah.
Okay.
10G.
We spent $10K, and it was pretty good. But I always joke and say that the best value of what I got out of that $10,000 meeting was the fact that I got to meet Todd. and Todd's amazing in so many ways. And I'll just share that Todd runs his company, Yellow Letter HQ. He absolutely is one of the sharpest guys I know when it comes to wholesaling, direct mail, understanding marketing. He's in some very, very high level mastermind groups that he participates in, helps share. I'll let you share more about that yourself, Todd. I know he spends a ton of money reinvesting in his education. He also flips. He also invests. I think he has an incredible background. I'm going to let him tell his backstory. But Todd is a wealth of knowledge. So obviously, thank you, Todd, for being on with us.
All right, man. Hey, man, appreciate it. Appreciate all those kind words, and happy to be here.
Absolutely love it. So why don't you just share with the listeners, some of the people out there, I know some people know you, some people don't. Share your backstory, kind of even going back to the fire department. I think that's important, and just kind of transitioning into real estate, the contracting. Kind of tell your story.
Sure. Yeah. So in another lifetime, at the age of 16, I wanted to be a fireman, right? And so I did that career for 15 or 16 years until I got married and started to want to have a family. And I realized, that's a great job. And I wanted that. And I didn't really understand the terms that I'm about to share with you now, but I really wanted to kind of live life on my own terms, right? And I wanted to be responsible for myself, for my income. And I knew that working for a government agency like that wasn't going to do it. So this is 2008, and that's when the crash happened last time. And I found myself doing the REO stuff. I had the contract for Countrywide in San Diego, where I was doing the grass cuts, maid services, trash outs. I'm like, yeah, heck, this is awesome. And that transposed to, well, this is still kind of like working for a company, not really working for me. Because again, what I wanted to get from my life is freedom of time, freedom of money, and freedom of relationship. And I kind of thought I had that with the fire department government job at first. But as I got a little older, I just realized, hey, that wasn't it. So the freedom of time, money, and relationship was really what I was after. And I didn't kind of know it then. I had to I knew what it was I wanted. I didn't really know how to even say it. I just knew I wanted something more. And so I started doing that, started making a bunch of money. I'm like, okay, this is great, but this still really feels like I'm working for somebody. So I said, hey, I see all these guys that are hitting me up when I'm doing these grass cuts and maid services. They want to know when's the next ones that come on the market. They're going to give me $1,000 to $2,000. I'm like, well, wait a second. Why are you going to do that? And so I found out that I was finding out about the properties before any of the agents, before anybody, and they wanted my list. I'm like, well, why? No one's buying these. And so I started talking to agents and started talking to some of these investors, and I realized, hey, people are buying these and they're making a bunch of money. So I'm like, hey, I've watched those flip shows. I've worked in construction before. I'm a fireman. I'm a big tough guy. Just ask me, I'll tell you. And so I started doing fix and flips, and I'm like, hey, this is still kind of more independent. It's working, for myself. And, I was still trying to figure out the whole business thing. I knew that I came from a fireman background. I'm good at hustling, getting a job done. I don't have a sales background necessarily. It's not really kind of my thing. And so, how does this all fit in? What am I going to do? So I started buying fix and flip properties from agents 2013, 14. That kind of started to shrink up a little bit in San Diego. And I met a guy named Luis Santaveros who wholesaled me a property. And he told me how he did it, how he's sending out postcards to sellers. And he was getting stuff under contract. I'm like, that's exactly what I want to do. Because that, for me, is the complete control. And now I can design my freedom of time, money, and relationship. I can control all of that now. Before, with dealing with real estate agents, which is not bad, it's a good strategy, it just felt a heck of a lot more independent. So then my next step was, well, I get this whole marketing stuff, and I sort of figuring out sales. But and at that time it was letters, right? Letters is what you sent, letters and postcards, and letters were like 70 or 80 cents. I'm like, well, shoot, 70 or 80 cents. I'm a pretty engineer-minded kind of guy. I'm gonna do this myself. So I went out, bought all the machines to do a kind of a low-scale production. Ty, I think he was even came by way back then and checked it out. And so it was a pretty efficient operation. And I'm like, okay, this is great. This is really something I can scale. And so who I was servicing at that point were other peers like Ty and other friends of mine in the real estate game. So my job then was to know as much about it as I could, produce the best price, and get it done for them really, really quickly. Okay. And so that kind of made its way on year over year, where it kind of became, for lack of a better word, in the business sense, my main squeeze, where that business kind of took over. And since that 5, 6, 7 years, we've grown to the largest direct to seller mail house in the country. And my job now is to number one, make sure that my team and my staff of 15 provide the promises we make to our clients and customers. And it's also to put my ear to the ground. So I have to think, if not, there might be somebody equal, but maybe somebody a little bit more. But that talks to more sellers or more, fixed to flip investors than me, because that's what I do half of my day. And, as the pressure got greater in 2018, 2019, my ear was to the ground even more. And I began to learn a lot about every facet of marketing in our space, because my feeling was, as soon as I have a competent, all around, well-versed investor, they're not just going to be in direct mail. They're going to be in text marketing. They're going to be cold calling. They're going to be doing all sorts of things. So I was able to help in every direction. So that's kind of where we're at now. Yeah, that's kind of just a quick summary of me and who we are.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And, one thing too about Todd is he's humble, right? So this guy is the MacGyver for the younger folks. MacGyver was a TV show where this guy would be stranded somewhere and he would take a 9-volt battery and he'd take some part off a car engine and then he would like duct tape it and wire it. And then somehow he would have that would be an auto dialer or something like that's MacGyver. So Todd is a true modern day MacGyver. And what I love about Todd is he's being very humble when he says he has an engineering mindset. This guy definitely jumps into things, tears it apart, figures it out. I mean, I got to say that out of everybody I know, and I know a lot of, a lot of really sharp investor marketers, guys that do a lot of different types of marketing, but I've got to say that you are on the leading edge because you have so much exposure.
Yeah, I do have a lot of exposure. And one of the best things I learned as a fireman was about the fundamentals and mastering those. And as investors, as entrepreneurs, we are huge on the shiny object, right? And I know it different. And so I've kind of already gone down every single hole that you could go down. And I'm a filter for all that information. And so we've been able to take in all that, talk to everybody, what's going on, what's working, what's not working, just get to the meat and potatoes and really simplify the process for people and explain it into a way that's very simple. Because let's face it, direct mail is not necessarily so dynamic. It's not. There's a lot of things you can think of and think up that might, could, woulda, coulda, shoulda type of possibilities, but there's only a few things that still working, and being consistent is the mail piece is one thing. That's great. You can't create a seller out of a mail piece. And that's what a lot of people in the direct mail industry do as a marketing tool. And they try to say, hey, the red ink is going to be the one that scientifically shows you're going to get the highest response rates, things like that. And the things that matter in direct mail are, number one, data. Data is your biggest thing. Filtering your data, niche list. We'll go into data. We'll talk about that a little bit. But being very, very deliberate and very, very intentional with your data, being very, very consistent and very, very organized on your campaigns, on your schedule. And then the other part is the mail piece and obviously, the sales process. So it's just really important not to focus on the mail piece as your control piece. It's not your control piece. You are the control piece by way of having a well-rounded picture, right? Having sending to the appropriate leads consistently and allowing that 3 to 6 to 4 month window somewhere in there of momentum to gather while those leads are coming in. Because a lot of times with direct mail, people will send stuff out. Oh shit. I just spent $2,000 or $3,000 in marketing. I got nothing. But that marketing, that mail piece, that postcard, that letter is sitting in that top desk drawer for that seller when the time is right for them. And you made a connection with them. And so not all of our sellers are ready right now. You have a big pool of sellers just not all ready to contact you right now. But direct mail is the only medium that sticks with them. And so creating a mail piece that is memorable to them and they want to keep is more important than the ink color or all of that. So I saw a question pop up. I don't know if you want to go a question or.
I want to ask one other thing, and I want to establish this. This is my mind still spins off of it.
Yeah.
You and I were talking a few weeks ago, a month ago, and you said something to me that I was just like, oh my goodness. Like you said, and I'm going to ask the question, how much money last year, your company, how much did you guys spend in postage to the U.S. Post Office?
Yellow Letter HQ, how much did Yellow Letter HQ spend?
Yeah.
Close to $6.5 million in just postage to the post office.
Close to $6.5 million in postage for 2019.
Yes.
I want everybody at home to listen. He said it right. $6.5 million in postage. So when we say that Todd is an authority when it comes to direct mail, he basically spent $6.5 million for his clients,
right,
who spend money with him. And I'm guessing too, your clients are repeat clients, right? I mean, it's the biggest, all big, small, medium investors all over the country, correct? I mean,
right.
Talk about that.
Right. And so we have investors all the way down from first timers, medium 2,000 to 3,000 pieces to people who send 400,000 pieces a month. So the pendulum, is all over the place. In a business like mine, you need scale, right? And so that's how you get it. And so what I've been thankful for, though, is I have a great team, and a lot of my time is not spent with just strictly is not based strictly on just managing all that, because it's tough. It's a tough business. It's a hustle. My guys hustle. We get the mail out. Something's approved today, it goes out the mail tomorrow. And so that a lot of stuff is handled, and my time is spent with peers like you, Ty, and other guys figuring out what the heck is going on and what's working. Because that's, as my business owner, myself as a business owner, that's my job, to filter out all that kind of stuff, be poking and prodding, ear to the ground, what's working, what can we do to make it better. And so it's been a great thing.
I love it. So I'm going to go ahead and throw the microphone back to Beau, and then Beau, why don't you tee up some of these great questions?
Sure. Let's start with Omar here. What are your thoughts on a huge mailing campaign or a smaller one that is done consistent in a specific area? How much of each? Right.
So Omar, a lot of this stuff I'm going to say depends. Now, I'm not going to give you that gray of an answer. Don't worry. But there's a lot of factors that come into play here. But let's just talk about thoughts on a huge mailing campaign or a smaller one. Well, it just depends on who you are, right? If you're a guy or a gal sitting in an office and you're an agent and or investor, right? And so you're going to want to deploy capital, right? Because direct mail is like is leveraging capital, right? You take a couple bucks, you leverage that couple bucks to do a mail piece, come out, leads come back in. You got your other hustle, picking up the phone and doing all that. So it just really depends on what you are as the investor. Now, let's say you are a fix and flip investor. The number one thing you can do for the best lead source, and it's a little bit more work because you're exchanging them. Which one do I want, hustle or leverage of money? And they're two different things. So if you're doing a small campaign, your best time is spent doing it for driving for dollars. Sounds monotonous, sounds boring. But I know I was talking to a client today out of Utah that, over 40%, and he does 10, 15 deals a year, over 40% of his deals, he doesn't do just direct mail. He does the full gamut, the full spectrum. But still, 40% of his deals come from driving for dollars. He has a couple people out there in the universe that drive for dollars all day long. So a big shop can do that, a medium shop can do that, and a small shop can do that. And so if you're going to do a small campaign because you want to leverage capital, maybe it's not available to you. That's perfectly okay. You're going to be leveraging that hustle. So it's going to be direct to driving for dollars, For a smaller list, if you're doing a farm area, if you're an agent that does listings and also buys things for cash, a farm area is a great way to do this. And so with a farm area, you're going to want to select whatever audience, right, that's you're most familiar with. I mean, a perfect example is I live here in Bay Park, and there's a real estate agent called Russ Eckelson. That gentleman, I see him once a month drop off a flyer on my doorstep. we're in an area of probably 4,000 to 5,000 homes. I see him once a month. The guy kills it. And that's his one strategy, right? And so your one strategy could be direct mail in that farm area, that 3,000 to 4,000 people. And you hit that maybe every 3 weeks. Everybody in that area knows you. Everybody. And they're getting this, your postcard or what have you. So you're focused in. Then there's other people who say, well, you know what? I want a bigger team. I want more than that. And so these are people who are getting bigger lists, right? They're maybe doing absentee. They're doing niche lists. Niche list is something I kind of glazed over. I'll get to it here in 1 second. But they're getting a little bit wider on that, right? And so you have niche lists, you have broad niche lists, and then you have broad lists, right? So the niche lists are going to be the driving for dollars, the probates, and all of that. And those are going to be guys who kind of are trying to start the game a little bit wider. And then you have the broad lists, right? And those broad lists are going to be leverage. You're going to use a lot of cash. You're going to suck up some cash on that, and you're going to have to be really consistent with it. And so, to answer that question, which one is best? It all depends on the person, right? It all depends on what you are designed for. If you want a big team, you have the cash to leverage that cash and turn it into ROI, maybe 5 or 6 times ROI on a $4,000 to $5,000 spend, or you don't have that cash to do an ROI, then you want to go into the niche stuff. I know I kind of went in circles on that one. I apologize about that. And if I didn't answer that question that great, which I didn't, Omar, go ahead and shoot it again.
You did great, man. No, you did great, because that's Omar. Yeah, I know Omar real well. That's what.
So that's kind of it. There's no real definite answer on that other than you, because I do know guys who kill it on the niche. That's their mindset. That's who they are. They have to squeeze every dollar out of everything that they do. They have to be really, really efficient in it. Or, hey, I want to take over the world, and then they go big. They spend a bunch of dough, and they're really successful at it. Both parties can be really successful at it. So, yeah.
So Todd, what about providing lists? Or does your company provide lists? I mean, what are your recommendations there?
Yeah, again, it's kind of who the user is and who the area is, right? Do we provide lists? We do in the sense of we have a list source discount that we can offer to people at 3 cents, right? So there's that. But a lot of agents, they have access to CoreLogic type data and filtering. There's things like PropStream and stuff like that. So really, it comes down to, again, what kind of investing are you doing? Are you going to do the niche stuff? If you're going to do the niches, and let's talk about those: probates, tax delinquent, evictions. Gosh, I'm just drawing a blank right now, but we all know what they are, Then if you're going to stay niche, and that's 2,000 to 3,000 to 4,000 records that you're going to hit every month, then you might want to go and hire a web scraper off of Upwork, go into your county records, find out where these things are located, do a screencast-o-matic screenshot of this, right? And so you're showing this guy exactly what records you want to pull and when. And he does this web scraper for you that you press on or off, right? And these leads, they'll be scraped weekly or monthly. And you start to accumulate now all of these niche leads directly from these sources that these people get for the probates that are $1 and all of this. And it sounds, I'm skimming over some stuff here. I kind of am. But the reality is it's just not that hard. If you are an engineering mindset kind of person, you're a tactical person, you can really figure this stuff out really easily. Then you can go buy them too. Successors data, listability. What's the ones for probate stuff?
Probate data.
Probate data. And you can go that direction, And then there's the predictive modeling, like Audantic. So if you're you could use these both ways. I know clients who use Audantic, which is a predictive modeling tool for both their brokerage and for their fix and flip game. And it's a hot or not list. It's expensive. It's $15,000 a year per county, and it's exclusive. So if somebody else has it, you don't. And some of my most successful clients use that list. And there's a list of about 20,000 records on average, per county. And really what he goes into, my belief is what he does. He's a little secretive about it, but my belief, he goes into all the sold data, gets all these data points, and goes back into the marketplace and sees who's actually selling for cash in your market and goes and pulls that. So predictive modeling can be done by a lot of agencies. That's one that has it dialed in the best, right? And that's where the most of the mid to large direct to seller investors are. And some of the larger agencies that also have brokerage are just wide open, right? They're doing everybody with equity and they're going with their hair on fire. And if they can't convert the deal into a fix or flip, then they're putting it on their brokerage and they're turning it into where some guys are trying to get 8 to 10 times on ROI. They're maybe, getting 5 to 6 times on their money, but it's a bigger pot of money, which means it's a bigger game for them, and they're killing it that way. So there's something out there for everybody, whether you're super niche, you're really dialed in on your stuff, and if you're super niche, you're very efficient with stuff, you're going to be drawn towards all those niches, and you're going to go get them, and you're going to kill it that way. And then, direct mail is just one part of the game. You're going to be in one of those categories. So there's 3 categories. There's the niche, the broad niche, like Audantic and doing list stacking. And then there's the just regular absentee and equity. You're going to be in one of those categories. You probably already know who you are and what category that you fit into. Once you've defined that, you've decided that, hey, this list for me provides results, right? And you're going to start with a postcard. We'll go into mail piece real quick. You're going to start with the postcard, but once you go into a list and you're getting deals off of it, especially right now, you're going to convert that and then you're going to go to a letter. Does it cost close to double? Yes. But here's the deal. You're going to send a postcard and you're in the direct to seller space. You're at 0.5% response rates. As soon as you jump up to a letter, it's a 1% to 1.3% response rate. Now this is just on average. And then you can step up over that is the real handwritten stuff, where there's agencies, mine is one of them, that handwrite stuff. And that's up in the 2 and 3% response rates. So basically if you're the first time doing it right, you're going to be doing postcards. You're going to be doing it for 2 or 3 months. Okay, I'm getting deals here. This is a 36-cent postcard, something like that. I'm going to jump up to a 59 to 60-cent letter. And when you start doing the numbers on that, it works out to your advantage, right? And it increases that ROI. I will say one thing about direct mail. If you're not getting 4 to 5 times return on your money, then you probably have a list problem or a process in-house problem, not a mail piece problem. So keep those things in mind.
Okay.
I love it, dude. You threw so much there, dude.
Sorry, I know.
That's
shit,
good,
I get
man.
all excited about this shit. I'm sorry.
I love it. Because you know what? I'm writing notes here because you're talking about doing web scrapers and I mean, Audantics. I had heard about it. I still haven't got on it, about predictable modeling. There's so much good information for people that are just getting started, as well as somebody who's advanced in doing the business right now, how to scale that up. So that's huge. Keep going with questions, Beau.
Okay, so Thatch asked, he's on my Thatch, jump into the Facebook group. You're on my personal page, streaming there. But anyways, Thatch asked, based on your experience, which categories do you think are the best to mail to? And he's asking absentee, fixer or tear down houses, foreclosure, 2 to 4 units, or 4 to 50 units.
Well, this is where that sounds like somebody who is a real estate agent in the way that they view this kind of stuff. And that's awesome. So as a real estate agent or as an investor, even if you're not, you really want to dig into your soul, right? You want to see what is selling for cash in your market. I still do that in my market. Every week, every month, for me, it's Property Radar. I love that site. I go into Property Radar and I see what is selling for cash. And I look at that property that was sold. Okay, what was on the deed history there? What happened? Was there an interfamily transfer deed? Can I tell by looking at it by the old addresses? Was it absentee property? Do I see notice of defaults on there? Lately, notice of defaults, all that stuff, no. Foreclosures, pre-foreclosures, hammered, way hammered. And those are smaller lists. And so to answer that gentleman's question, if you're in the smaller list game, don't go where everyone else is at. Another story, a friend of mine he's an investor, has had his father pass away. And he was the executor. He was nowhere on it, right? His father's passed away. He was the executor. And after he passed away, he got around 60 to 70 mail pieces within a month, right? So we all know about probate. And so we just totally saturated, tons of letters. He got 2 phone calls, right? And people went and skip traced him, found out who he was, and a couple of texts. And he entertained them. He wasn't going to go that route. He entertained them just because he thought it was, give him kudos for digging in that far. My point in saying this is if you are in the camp of smaller lists, 2 to 3,000, you're going to have to get really deep and really efficient. If you go into the probates, you're going to have a hard time by just sending a letter to a probate. If you're going to go probates and that's your squeeze, great. Go all in. Now you're digging into county records. You're going skip tracing on each one. You're getting relatives. You're texting them. Be careful, especially with the license. But and you're getting a hold of them, letting them know what service you can provide them. So it's not just as easy when you get into the list to just do the probates, the notice of defaults, the foreclosures. You're not going to get very far there. You're going to spend your wheels, spend some money, and maybe not have anything in return. But let's say you're in that camp and driving for dollars. I'll say it again, driving for dollars in the niche stuff is you can hire somebody 10, 12, 15 bucks an hour for that. You can do it virtually. I think Deal Machine is an app that you can get on virtually and do driving for dollars through Google Street View, right? They have a Chrome extension, so that's pretty unique. So my point being is that if you're going to go niche, you're not going to leverage the dollar to do more, then it's going to take some more of the, what Grant says, the hustle muscle, right? You're going to have to get in there. You're going to have to get gritty. There's going to be great deals in there for you. They're there. But it's not going to be just send, 1,000 pieces to this niche once, twice, and get 3 or 4 deals. It doesn't happen that way, to be honest. And the guys too that are in that niche, you do need to pick one strategy that works for you. Direct mail might be your jam. You get that pretty much dialed in, and then you're going to add another function on top of that to those same leads, which is texting, right? Which is cold calling after you master texting. So as soon as you can, whatever medium you want to go into in your marketing, in your business, whether you're a real estate agent or a direct to seller investor, you want to master that one. But as soon as you can master that, start getting deals out of it, you're squared away. You can start to grow that, absolutely, but be bringing another one in.
I love it. Yeah. Thatch is in Seattle. He's a good friend of mine, Todd, and he actually does development. And he buys multifamily. He does driving for dollars and the whole thing. Everything. Yeah.
I've seen him.
Yeah, definitely. You guys got to connect. So
okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Thatch. Is that who the question was from? I'm sorry. Was that it?
Yeah.
From him?
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Thatch absolutely crushes it, and everything you said is so spot on about you really have. We have a theory. My buddy Alex Lear, he talks about air, land, sea. So the idea is that you're doing mail, you're doing cold calling, and you're doing texting, and you're door knocking them, and you're who knows, right? Whatever,
right.
You're full attack on that niche list. You have to be because it's so competitive, right, Todd?
Right. And so you need to pierce through there. Yeah, you have a great, in one sense, you have a nice pool of targeted sellers that you can add value to. You can add value to them if you're listing their house for them. And if you're a direct to seller investor, right? or the combo can add probably the most value to them. You can kind of take it either way, and to be able to put that tool in your toolbox. But if you need to get a hold of them, you need to get through to them. It just depends on how they digest media. They might be a 55 or 65 or older person. They don't pick up that dang phone, but they get this nice letter with your picture on of your family and who you are and what you do. They're going to relate to that and call you. And all calls and texts, they're just ignoring that, right? And then the next person that's in that same niche, they only like to deal with text. So you've texted them, you've connected with them. So if you found that you have a farm area and a niche list, and that's going to be your jam because you're a 1 or 2 person team, which, let's be honest, that's the majority of us. You do need to hit that thing by land, sea, and air every which way possible and get really, really gritty with it. And at first it's challenging because you're learning new strategies, skip tracing. What the hell is this? Where do I go? What do I do? But over time, as you pick up one tool in that toolbox and another one, you're going to quickly master that list, master that area.
You're listening to the Investor Financing Podcast. We'll be right back after this break. Are you looking for funding? Are you getting frustrated trying to find a lender? Visit investorfinancingpodcast.com and click the Get Funding button. Complete the simple form and schedule a free phone consultation with one of our placement specialists. We have a proprietary directory of funding partners that can help you get the funding you need. It's fast and easy to explore the options available for your specific needs. Don't wait. Visit investorfinancingpodcast.com and get connected.
And if there's anything that you can spend money on in your business, it's marketing and self-improvement. And it's never a dollar wasted, ever.
That's great advice. What about as far as let's say you're new to mailing and you're testing out a market and you're doing an absentee owner list. And as far as sequences, you got to hit them at least three or four times, and how far do you space them out? And what would the general advice be on, I'm getting into mailing, really, this is the first time I'm doing it. I've got a budget of $5,000.
Yeah.
I'm doing absentee owners in this area. How would you sequence it in general? I mean, postcard letter. And then the last piece of that question, if you can remember all this, is what access do you put on that? Do you put your phone number? Do you put your website? Do you put your email? Do you put all of them? What have you found to be the best?
Yeah. So really, for me, my whole reach, right, of people who I can target is probably around 30,000. Now, that's not everybody. Now, let's say your reach, you're identifying a niche or an area, and you say 5,000. Let's say it's 6 months, so it's 2,000 people, and you're really going to want for me, right? I'm going to deliberately know who I'm targeting and why, and so those reasons are never going to go away until they sell the house. That's one. On a niche list, a probate is going to go away obviously once it's sold. There's some lists that only have a shelf life on them. There just isn't that many, however. Their only shelf life is when they get sold. And I targeted them for a reason. There's a reason I'm going after them as far as potential of us working together. And so when it comes to the mail piece, if you have your target audience, you have your farm, whatever it is for you, you're wanting to be hitting those people on the niche list side every 30 days, right? Because there's some urgency there. There's a sense of urgency. There's things going on there that they need help with. And so there's something that could be more, but on average it's 30 days. Now, if you're in a list that I was talking about, the Audantic list, right? Where these guys are most likely to sell to you based on a series of data points that they're likely to sell to you. And that's more of a 45 to 60 day interval, because there's not a huge push for them to do anything. You're just marketing to them because they could likely sell to you, right? And then the third one, and that absentee could be in that camp. So absentee could be in the 60 day camp, 45 days, 60 day camp. to answer that question. And then there's the 55 or older. The 55 or older, I send every 90 days. Why? It's because for me, my market, that's one of the best, most fruitful deals, farm communities for me, because that's when people, they said, okay, I'm out of California. I'm done now. They have this house that's worth $500,000 or $600,000, and there's a lot of equity in it, and they don't want to deal with it. So that's the one I really like. And so, but I'm not going to hit that person, but every 90 days, because their decision cycle is very, very different. It's not, well, I'm thinking about selling, and they get a postcard tomorrow. Oh, I'm going to sell. That doesn't happen in that. Their decision cycle is much longer. So you got to kind of think about the person. So to recap, niche every 30 days. If you're in some semi-targeted list, it's 45 to 60 days. And if it's 55 or older, you're going to only send a letter, don't send a postcard, and you're going to send it to them every 90 days.
Question on the 55 plus, are you getting that from ListSource?
55 plus, I still go to, God dang it, it's hot over here. I'm losing my mind. I've been on Zoom all day long. I just said it.
Audantix?
No.
Property Radar.
Property Radar. Jeez Louise. Sorry, guys.
You're doing great.
Radar for me, I get it off of there. And Property Radar is great. A lot of people from here from California. So Property Radar is great, and where I can tag lists, right? And see what's selling. I tag all my lists and I see what's selling, so I know what to focus on. That's another thing. That you can create a bunch of lists in a software like PropStream or Property Radar, and you can see which ones have the most solds in them. That's going to tell you what kind of properties, what kind of situations, and what areas are selling for cash in your market. And that'll give you a way to kind of hone in a little bit more.
Love it. Love it. So question, Todd, on that, because we're into list a little bit. Yeah. Do you have a list stacking product, or do you recommend one, or is there one? We do.
Ours is good, but I'll be quite honest with you. Ours is getting better and better, but ours is good. So we have one at yellowletterhq.com, and there's list stacking software in there, but some of the ones that have been around a while that are really robust and great, Property List Manager, PLM, right? Okay. PLM is a great one. Batch Lead Stacker. Those guys at Batch are doing good work over there. They have one. And ours, if you just do direct mail only, ours is really good. But if you're into a bunch of different things, those two, PLM, Batch Lead Stacker, are really, really good lead stackers for sure.
I love it. I love your authenticity. It's like, I have one, it's good for mail, but then again, Todd is so straight up, and that's what I love about you. One of the many things. So keep going with questions, Beau.
Okay. So, can we talk about your service, your company a little bit? Is it pretty automated? I mean, can somebody that's just getting started go on and say, hey, I'm doing an absentee owner list where you have some recommended kind of templated yellow letters that they can kind of plug and play and test?
Absolutely. So if you go to yellowletterhq.com, you can go on and you can pick letters or postcards, whatever suits you, and you're going to hit a tab that says tutorial. And that tutorial is going to take you, we just have drop-down tabs, right? And you can select what you want from the drop-down tabs. You can go into the upload box and give us a picture of something that you want us to recreate for you. We can do that. And then there's going to be a box of any other details you would want from us on that. In that order, you can upload different lists. So let's say you had your absentee list, your probate list, your expires list, but you want to put it all into one campaign, because when you do direct mail with anybody, the more you send, the less it is. And you can do that into our system. You can upload all three of those lists. You can put your unique phone number for each one, so you're tracking where these leads are coming from. And our upload tool will bring that in, compile that list for you, scrub all of that data for a few things. First, it's going to scrub all the duplicates and take all those off, so you're not paying for those. It's going to take that data and refer it to the post office database to make sure that those properties are still accepting mail, so you don't get a bunch of return mail. Will you always get return mail? Yes, you will, but we can help you get less. And then it does some neat features like, things that are in the trust. Like you got Ontiveros Trust 1997. And every trust, at least that I've ever seen, has the last name first and then all the contents after it. So our tool takes that and says, okay, we're gonna append this for you. We're gonna make this Ontiveros family, make it more personalized. So it does all that for you automatically, and it puts that number in the cart for you, and you can check out. Next week, we're gonna have some good tools where you can make that campaign reoccur on its own just by with the click of a button. Some cool stuff. So, but as far as direct mail houses are concerned, our website is definitely one of the easiest to use. And anytime you have any problem, just call or email us and we'll help you out.
I love it. So let's talk about now. I know a lot of guys are going out and buying, fancy cars and stuff. And tell us about your Lamborghini.
Yeah. So I was with Don Costa at his mastermind, and so we rented Lamborghinis. And so I'm a car guy, but I'm not necessarily that kind of car guy. But man, after I drove that car, that's all I could think about. And I wanted to buy a Lamborghini. But instead, what we were finding out that is in a time, especially in a time right now, whether you're in a ton of competition or a situation like COVID, authenticity wins, right? And we're seeing that in marketing. We're seeing that in every professional organization. You're still professional, but authenticity wins 10 times out of 10. And so we're seeing response rates, on postcards, right, is about 0.5%. Not great. But at 36 cents a pop, you're looking at not necessarily your response rate, but your ROI. And then you're going to bump that up to a letter, printed letter, authentic looking, handwritten font, all that kind of stuff. And what you're doing there is trying to capture attention in that mail stack. That's great. That's going to get you about 1%. But we did spend over a Lamborghini's worth, and I just posted on our Yellow Letter HQ Tips and Tricks Facebook page, where we're setting up all of our handwriting machines that will be available next week. And these machines actually take a pen, right? And they write just like you and I were sitting down at our desk writing letters to somebody. And when a seller sees that, right, it's grabbing their attention. Who in the world gets letters anymore? Nobody, right? But when you do, because that doesn't happen anymore, it's special. It means something. It means something more. And so we're seeing 2 to 3% response rates on that. And I have clients that are sending upwards of 50,000 to 60,000 handwritten postcards and letters a month. And it's not as cheap as the other stuff, but they can't believe what's happening to the marketing on that business with that response rate. So it's really authentic. It captures their attention. Remember, that's what you're doing with the mail piece. You're capturing their attention. You're giving them a short, concise message. They're digesting it, identifying a need, and they're either calling you right there or they're putting that thing away when the time is right for them. So yeah, that's what we're doing with the handwriting stuff. It's really, really, really cool. And I can't wait to get into it, because anytime I can help myself or my customers, friends, and clients get more deals, man, it's rad. So
I love it. I love it. So I love how two things. So I'm talking about a car, and then I love how deep into detail Todd goes into. He didn't buy a Lamborghini, guys and gals. He took that Lamborghini cash and he reinvested it back into his business. That's such a big distinction. And especially now, I think, Todd, especially right now as we're in this COVID transition, for people right now, the people that double down and reinvest back into their business, whether that's direct mail or maybe Airland C, they're doing the driving for dollars, they're staffing up, they're scaling. This is the time to do that. Tell me your thoughts specifically about the timing and the market share, the mind share, like really reinvesting in your business, why that's so critical right now. Just some of your thoughts on that.
Yeah, well, here's one thing I think I can provide the most value to anybody right now in this space, is because I have a front row seat to what's happening. And that's in my revenue for my business. Let's just be quite honest. So half of your competition on the direct to seller game is F word non-existent. They disappeared right now. They're gone. They're not mailing. They're not doing anything, because there were so many, whether it be an investor from a guru seminar or an agent who just got their license, right, trying to get into the game, they're gone. And so who is left are people who are been around a little while, right? And a lot of the noise is gone. So it's a better time than ever right now to start gearing up for what's happening out there. Sellers, especially right now, we talked about lists, right? Well, right now, let's think about it. Now, the absentee owner has been the most hammered list out there. But at the same time, the absentee owner is 50% of the people or more are not mailing to them. Right now, they're under more pressure than ever, right? They're under way more pressure than they ever have been before. And so now you have a value to them. You can help them sell that property that in a unique position where maybe there's a tenant not paying. Maybe you can buy it for cash, right? And then there's another segment that's been happening a lot over the past 5 or 6 years, all over the country, where people are buying investment properties at their 401k. And maybe not at their 401k as well. Maybe there's, just they're becoming a recreational landlord. Well, the first thing that happens to them when things get tough like this, they're going to want to sell that property. And that investor doesn't get targeted to, right? And they're not getting targeted to right now. But I can tell you what, they're most likely, okay, they have 20 or 30% equity on that property. And they're like, okay, I did this experiment. It was fun. The first time they don't get that rent check, they're like, hey, I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, I work for a government. I don't want this kind of crap. I'm done. And so you can be of value to them. You can put some money in their pocket and target a seller that maybe hasn't been targeted yet, or even targeted now, but you can add a ton of value to. So that's my favorite little. It's a kind of a niche, not really, because it's pretty. It's just we're just using logic here, right? And that's one of the best little nugs I can give you, on top of knowing that your competition is scared right now. They're not participating. They're not investing. They're not working on themselves. And hey, it's okay. I'm scared. It's a weird thing that's going on right now. But the good investors, the guys that are going to be killing it in this next phase are starting right now. And they're digging in deep. And so an investment now in marketing could pay dividends 3, 6, 8 months from now, as this potentially, we don't know, hopefully not, but potentially could get worse. And so you're planting seeds right now in your marketing that they pay dividends. And that's the hardest thing we do as business owners, because A, we want shit right now. We do marketing, we spend money, we want results. What the hell? That's how we operate. That's who we are. But really, we have to understand in our marketing, no matter what phase you're doing, whether it's text, cold call, direct mail, the seeds and the revenue that's going to be coming from the marketing today could be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 months down the line. I still get sellers calling me from letters I sent them 3 or 4 years ago. It happens. So participating now is a great thing. With half of the market share out of the game, focusing on yourself and your marketing and your business right now it's everything, in my opinion.
Todd, do you have a hard stop at 7:30, or can we go a little over?
You're good. I'm good. Yeah, I'm at home. I'm not at the shop. I'm usually at home doing these things, but today I'm at home, so we're good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Beau.
Okay. So some of the people that are watching are in multifamily, and so let's talk about like the mom and pop, like say 10 to 30 unit properties. How have you seen that effectively marketed to using direct mail? I know it's going to be different than maybe the yellow letters, or is it going to be? I mean, how would we set that up initially? Kind of, what's the thought process there?
The thought process there is a little more sophisticated seller, right? And so, maybe they're not going to respond so much to a yellow letter or urgent, postcard, property notification, urgent stuff like that. You're really going to want to be transparent, let them know who you are. A lot of not with the agent community, but with the direct seller community. And there's the agent community, there's a direct seller community, and then those they're both. And so you really want to communicate to them in a mom and pop professional manner. You might be an agent, you might have a big brokerage, that's fine. You can say that. But your approach to them doesn't necessarily have to be, hey, I'm a Remax, top producer, all that kind of stuff, or nothing. Hey, I'm going to come and buy your 20 unit, cash. It's, hey, this is who I am. This is the service that I offer to you. We can structure all kinds of different ways to buy this property from you. I know when it comes into that space, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm mostly in the single family 2 to 4 unit. We do some stuff in this space. And so that space leaves an opportunity for all kinds of different exit strategies. You create financing terms, whether it be, you don't do that and you buy it cash, or traditional methods. And you want to list those things that you can do for them and how you can do it and how it's easier to sell to, right? So just be very, very transparent, very, very clear, and testimonial too. And that seller doesn't get a postcard. That seller gets a 1 to 2 page letter. 1 page letter, maybe saying, hey, handwritten note, something very authentic. Hey, I want to talk to you about such and such property. And by the way, here's a circular. And there's a second page. It tells you all about me and what I do, what I can offer you. Sorry, if I can get the words out. How I can offer you and make a sale really easy, right? And so it's just a Word doc with a picture of you and your family and all of the ways that you can help them, and a testimonial. It's really evergreen, and it's really just more pragmatic than we all give it credit to. We listen to the Dan Kennedy's, great marketers, by the way, and those guys are really, really focused on some stuff. But really, we're buying properties. We're not selling a shoe. We're not selling a commodity. We're not going to be able to convince the seller to sell to us. We're just going to be available to them and be somebody who they know, like, and trust, because we marketed to them, and somebody that they feel is approachable for them. That's all we're doing. We're getting noticed, giving them a clear, simple message, being somebody that they might want to do business with. When the time is right for them, they're going to contact you. And that's all we can do. And so getting into the weeds and what do we send? How do we send it? Just be authentic, be you. And that's the absolute best advice I could give on that subject, because that's one of the more overthought situations of what do I send? How do I send it? Be you. Let them know how you can help them. And in an environment where there's many units, I mean, they probably own them a long time. The units you said 10 to 20 to 30, somewhere up in there, right? Yeah. And just a mom and pop professional, somebody who they can deal with. They're not a big REIT, they're not a hedge fund. They've just made some good decisions in their life, and they could be a part of an investment group. But 9 times out of 10, they're not. Even investment groups want to deal with mom and pop professionals, as long as they know that you can execute on what you say that you're going to do for them. So I think that would be the best way to answer.
And just the last question I have for you is, going back to the question we asked a while ago, what would you recommend as what we should put on as far as the call to action? Should it be to call? Should it be a combination of call? Here's my email. Here's my website. Contact me. I mean, what have you seen that seems to work the best? I know it probably depends, but what are your recommendations there?
Yeah, I mean, that one kind of depends on who you talk to. And so my personal belief is I want to be searchable, especially in an environment of competition. I want to be searchable to my seller. I want them to see me online, see houses I've done, go to my Facebook page. There's the other school of thought that says, hey, I don't want them going to that and getting lost and then not calling me. Right? So there's 2 schools of thought on that, and you have to decide which one's appropriate for you. I would say the best way to kind of bridge those 2 is to maybe have a Facebook page or say, hey, when you're available, would you give me a text, please, so we can talk about this property? And so they can easily start talking and communicating with you, right? So if they don't want to go through all the work of digging you up, they can just start a text conversation with you and start that investigation there. Hey, where can you show me your website? Can you tell me a little bit more about yourself? And just open up the invitation. So I think I would keep it simple. I think I would put my phone number on there. And if I'm going to that kind of a marketplace and I'm a 1, 2, or 3, or 4 man show, right? And I'm marketing to somebody with 10, 20, or 30 units. I want them to contact me directly. And so I want to put my cell phone on there, or a way that, the message comes to my cell phone. And you can start the conversation like that. So for me, I would bridge the gap by putting a phone number on that they could get a hold of me right away.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. That actually, I just have two questions for you. And so we talked about data, we talked about the mail piece, and then we talked about the sales process. And, it's interesting too. I want to give a shout out. Adrian Hernandez is here. I think he just did a piece with you. I want to say in the last 4 weeks for the month of April. And I want to say he got 3 listings from it and then 1 investment deal. So
awesome.
4 deals from a mailing of, I think it was about 10 to 13,000 pieces. So shout out to Adrian. I think that was the first time he did mail with you. I see Don Costa's on here. I see Ramel. I see a bunch of really good people. So thank you guys for tuning in and staying in with us. So we talked about data. We talked about the mail pieces, the sales process. And you talked about okay, your cell phone number. When you see people that are having success, what is the best method for sales process when they're calling in, taking that call, having a hotline for the people you work with that are having the real conversion and converting and getting deals that keep coming back and mailing with you month after month after month? Maybe just go into a little bit of a best practices for sales process.
Right. Yeah. So I can't go into necessarily best practices on sales process. That's not my thing. John Martinez, that guy kills it on that. But I will say when it comes to the initial process, right? I don't know a single investor that doesn't have somebody picking up that phone. And it used to be to where you're trying to filter people through voicemails and things like that. Those days, for me, my belief is those are long gone. So you need to have somebody picking up that phone. I even have investors. One's here in San Diego is actually my most consistent customer, client, and friend. He has somebody on night shift, right? When the mail drop comes in, at least for mail and even for PPC, he has with his team, they trade off. So up until 8, 9 o'clock at night, they're answering that phone call. It might be a short and sweet. Hey man, really appreciate this call. Yeah, I got this property address. Can we set an appointment? It's kind of late. Is this something you want to talk about now, or can we talk about it at such and such time tomorrow? The fact of the matter is picking up that phone call allows that seller to go, check, right? Check the box. Okay, I have somebody who's going to help me with this problem. I have somebody who I can kind of see what's happening. So now there's the other school of thought of going to a voicemail. There's other school of thought of pat lies, which they'll have their place. And maybe if you're running such a big operation that your staff can't pick up that call, goes to pat live, well, okay, but then you're calling their asses right back, right? And they're following up with a text message if they don't pick up. So I can say unequivocally, they are on that lead right the F word away. They are on it. And that will make or break you, especially in a competitive market. Even though half of your competition is gone right now, there's still competition out there. And people want that one-on-one service, and you don't have to go into your full sales process with them right then and there. You're just touching it. Hey, thank you for this phone call. Man, I really appreciate it. I was hoping you called me about this property, and I'm glad you did. So let's set a time that we can talk about this at what time's good for you tomorrow, 10 or 11. And you touched them, you made a contact, you get off the phone with them, you text them again. Thank you for that call. Looking forward to tomorrow. That one action, I mean, if you're a one-man shop, which a lot of us are, and that's okay, at 7:30 at night, like it is right now, it kind of takes some guts to do. And I don't want to have to pick this up. I'm playing with my kids. But that 5 minutes, boom, boom, off, done. That momentum building and picking up that phone or having a system to do that is key. That one cannot be overstated.
I love it. And so I got one more question, but I want to just one more time tell people about your Facebook group, because I think the Facebook group, you give so much value. You show good demos. You have lots of engagement. So tell them the Facebook group, and then also tell them again the website, how to get a hold of you.
Sure. Yeah, so the Facebook group is one that I just started a few weeks ago, and it's mainly just some of our customers now, but it's Yellow Letter HQ Tips and Tricks, right? And you can go there, ask for permission, we'll bring you on in, and our website is yellowletterhq.com. Yellowletterhq.com. You can call us, you can email us, you can Facebook message me if some of this went over your head. We can talk about it a little bit, and I can let you know how to get into that Facebook page too if you lost it. But that's the best way to get a hold of me.
I love it. And then so we'll post, actually, Beau, we'll post something in our group on the link underneath the video, the comments on how to get a hold of you as well. So Todd, let me add, knowing my audience, we've got people that are doing, maybe as an example, people that are doing maybe between listings and wholesaling investments, because we have a lot of hybrid people that are both agents and investors. So we have probably on average, I would say the majority of our audience is in that category, and they're doing 3 to 5, maybe sometimes more, but let's call it 3 to 5 deals a month.
Right.
Half of them, maybe more of them, 80% of them are listings. The other are wholesale deals.
Right.
And then we have some new people. We have people that are brand new. They're just getting into the business, and they're doing a lot of cold calling and things like that because they have lower budgets. So it's specifically on how to get started in mail. And I think, just kind of throwing in my 2 cents, is I believe that you need to have a strategy where you're going to be consistent, and then at least you're month in and month out executing. But for your clients who are on the entry level, that are maybe on that lower level, just not getting started, but they've been with you 6 months, a year, they're consistent. What's a good budget? And I know it's subjective based on where they're at, but just kind of realistically, what should somebody in their mind be thinking to be consistent in doing this budget wise?
Budget wise, again, it's real tough, but if you're just starting out and you're hustling like all get out to build the dream that we're all trying to make, that first thing I started off with, the freedom, time, money, and relationship, we all fit in there somewhere, right? And you gotta hustle. And so you're brand new, you're hustling. There is nothing wrong with doing, again, Deal Machine. There's a few other driving for dollars apps out there, starting there for both listings, right? Listings, and for direct to seller type stuff. Then from there, it's the vacant properties, right? And if you targeted those 2 vacant properties in your little farm area that you want to target and driving for dollars, and you spent anywhere from $500 to $1,500 a month on that, and you could afford to do that for at least 6 months, you're gonna see an ROI intensive of at least 15 to 20 times on your dough, because it's such a niche, right? And there's only so much dough that you're spending, and so you're going to be ROI intensive. You're going to, I don't want to say double that lead flow, but you're going to add quite a few more deals to that mix and start building that momentum there. So I love those 2, both the vacants of any means and the for dollars, and having that 500 to 50. Guys, I don't want to say don't, because in some areas this does work, and you'll know if it does. But don't be in Southern California and spend $500 on marketing to an absentee list because that's what you heard, or it makes sense, or even absentee out of state. If you have that kind of budget, there's nothing wrong with it. Be very strategic with it. Be very, very deliberate, and know who you're marketing to, and spend that extra time doing the driving for dollars. I know it sounds ridiculous, but some of my best investors they're really turning that dollar into more dollars, having dollar babies, right, is by driving for dollars and being really intentional with that market. So I would say $1,500, $500 to $1,500 a month.
I love it, dude. So thank you for your authenticity. Thank you for your time. I can tell you had a long day, dude, and you gave us everything, man. You were sharing, you're caring, you're authentic, you're straight up as always. I appreciate your time here. Thank you, Beau. Beau, take us out.
All right, that's so awesome. And you know what? I always just looked at, before you presented tonight, I looked at direct mail as just like, okay, I'm going to send to a list, right? Like I didn't put any thought into it other than, and that's why I got great response. But if I actually think about it and break it down and really dive deep, it's like that's how you're going to be successful with it, right? And the great thing about like your company, I don't have to. I think about it in the beginning and I put it on autopilot, and all I have to worry about is fielding the phone call or the email that comes in. That's it. Once it's set up. So really it might be 2 hours set up in the beginning or less, right? And then boom, you can automate for the whole year and tweak it as you go. But yeah, I just it's amazing getting so granular with like the details. And I think I really thank you for your time with it, because it's like, it just made me think like what I'm doing in Indiana, or what I could be doing in Indiana. Like I could literally be hitting them like in the next week with letters, and the phone be ringing off the hook. And now I just need Ty to answer the phone and close the deal for me, and I'm good.
Well, you got a good closer there, so be no problem. Oh, is that a flip phone?
That's that. When this thing rings, I know it's a hotline bling. I know when they both ring, I know, oh shit, that's a money call, man. I'm gonna.
We got to get.
That's amazing.
Ty and I are putting on a Las Vegas mastermind pool party when COVID, hopefully sometime soon. We'd love for you to come by and join the mastermind as soon as we get out of our houses, and we'll have some freedom.
Sounds good, guys. Thank you guys for having me. If any of the audience needs my help, you know how to get a hold of me, and best of luck to everybody during this time.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Investor Financing Podcast. For show notes and useful resources, please visit investorfinancingpodcast.com. For questions or comments, email info@investorfinancingpodcast.com. If you enjoy our show, please share it with your network. Until next time.